Now he's known as Brutus, the lovable yet feisty mascot for the Ferris Bulldogs. But Ferris didn't always have such a memorable animal to get students inspired to root on the home team. First, Ferris was known as the Spartans. Then the Big Rapids Pioneer referred to us as Ferrisites. And you can imagine how that went over.
Ferrisites sounds a lot like parasites, so it wasn't well perceived.
But during the 1930-31 basketball season, Pioneer sports columnist Lester Williams used that memorable nickname for the first time.
They got a packed stadium. Ferris is hanging in there, they're fighting. One of the newspaper writers said, "Your team played just like Bulldogs, didn't they?"
He said that we fought to the very end, we were tenacious, we didn't give up, just like true Bulldogs.
But it took years for the Bulldogs to finally gain a recognizable mascot. That was until Ferris student Jim Wilczak approached athletic director Dean Davenport about the possibilities of filling those shoes.
And he said, "How about a mascot? I mean, I'd just like to be a Bulldog."
The process of building the costume took many twists and turns. It had to be recognizable and comfortable, but they still struggled to solve one really important issue.
But it was very hot to wear because I wore it once.
And I got a lot of respect for everybody who's been the Bulldog over the years because I've been in that uniform once. My dad talked me into being the Bulldog, and after about 2.5 hours of walking down Main Street in that Bulldog costume, I think I lost about 10 pounds.
On November 9th, 1979, Ferris hockey fans finally met the legend.
So it was fun to kind of see him when he first showed up, and it was almost like instantaneous adoption of, well, of course we should have somebody in a Bulldog costume at all the games. And it's just turned into like this institution.
While a mascot continued to inspire the crowds, Dean Davenport also decided a rebranding of the Bulldog logo was needed.
I inherited a Bulldog, and it was a Bulldog that had his tongue out the side of his mouth, and he looked like he was going to love you to death. And I said, the first thing I'm going to do is make a feisty, fighting Bulldog.
Since Dean's son Terry was a talented artist and enrolled at Ferris in commercial art, he seemed like the perfect fit to revitalize the logo.
We started just looking at what are the Bulldog logos out there, both for inspiration, but also making sure that whatever we ended up with was uniquely Ferris's Bulldog. And a lot of the other Bulldog logos, you know, they're not kind of in fighting mode.
And after the research, the challenge of forming this iconic logo took on hundreds of iterations.
You know, the artist process is like you draw one and then you take a sheet of tracing paper and you change the things you don't like, and then you take another sheet of tracing paper and you're just kind of trying things, and you're noodling and you're layering and you're layering. And I couldn't figure out how to make the Bulldog look like a fighting Bulldog, because in reality, Bulldogs have really little mouth and really little teeth, and they're not all that ferocious. And so I got some photographs and some images of lions roaring. Like, what would a lion look like when it was like full roar? And I took I kind of cheated and took a little bit of that muscular feel of what a big mouth, ferocious mouth would look like, and I put it on a Bulldog. And it didn't work at first, but then, you know, I kind of made it a little smaller and moved this over here. And after about 3 layers of tissue paper, finally I'm like, that might work. You can tell from the ears, suddenly when the ears perk up, that's a sense of attention and energy. Then we started playing around with the collar, but you know, putting the spiked collar on him, of course, added one more level of toughness.
And you could see the sequence as he got closer and closer to the final product until boom, there it is. And he put that F on there, on the collar. And only one F, and that's Ferris.
I did another logo, this little coffee company in Seattle called Starbucks. It was its 40th anniversary, and we wondered if Starbucks had gotten to the point where it was iconic. And so we experimented with, can the mermaid, the siren, stand alone and everybody recognize her as Starbucks? And we decided to kind of make the leap, and it worked. So one of the things, when I look at the Bulldog logo today, The designer in me would say, well, maybe it could be cleaned up and simplified a little bit. But I think if you did that, I think it would lose some of the personality that kind of makes it so successful today. So I would say pencils down.
The Bulldog logo became so beloved. In 2013, it went head-to-head in a Detroit Free Press poll with other famous logos in Michigan.
Pretty soon we're in the Final Four.
And I called Terry in Seattle. I said, Terry, our run is done. We're playing the Tigers now, and I don't think we're going to beat the English D.
And when I heard, I think the Bulldog beat, who was it, Detroit Tigers, I think for the #1 spot by tens of thousands of votes. I was very humbled and proud and excited by that. I think it was a big moment for Ferris sports.
Ever since I started coming here, I wanted to be Brutus. He's the face of the university, and his job is to entertain everybody and keep everybody engaged.
Well done!
It changed my fear of failing, and it taught me just to do your best, go all in, and be passionate about things.
It takes a lot to keep the secret of who's under the mask, and there have been a few close calls.
He would sweat all. It had to be washed after every game. I washed it. I took it home, and my wife and I, between the two of us, washed and dried it. And somehow, when I walked through the lobby, either the tail or the ear of the Bulldog was out. We had a student that came to every game, and I walked by him and say, hi, Richard. And he said, you're the Bulldog. And I said, no, I'm just taking the Bulldog's uniform. He's the Bulldog, everybody. And everybody stops and comes around, and they're all trying to tell Richard, no, he's not. He's the athletic director. He's not the Bulldog.
Yeah, it's very hard to keep that secret. I was doing a thing for Valentine's Day, and I ran into a bunch of my friends for that. It was really hard to not say something to them, like, hey, I saw you yesterday. Like, no, you didn't.
But eventually, the mask must come off. And the Ferris community always celebrates that moment.
I'm more nervous than when I did my audition.
Fans, do you want to know who the Bulldog is? Your 2022-23 Ferris State Bulldog, Cody Langlois.
It becomes part of them, and they know they're a part of something even greater, and it's meaningful.
It feels bittersweet. It's pretty cool.
The student was brought to tears. Most of them are when they pull off that mask for the last time, because they're leaving a little bit of their heart in that suit. It makes me want to tear up because it is a special moment for them.
In the suit, I've had countless amazing memories that I'll never forget. Being everybody's favorite dog, like it's amazing.
Brutus will likely continue to inspire Ferris fans for another 140 years, and Dean and Terry's part in that legacy will also be seen around campus for years to come.
Good job.